Hello and welcome to the Essential Property Podcast with your hosts, Paul Samuda and Amanda Woodward. With 45 years of combined experience in the world of property buying, selling, investing and developing, they are here to share with you their knowledge in the Stoke-on-Trent, Newcastle-under-Lyme and Crewe property market. Let's get started.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Essential Property Podcast, where we are updating you on Project OneB and our new style blog that we're putting together to blog our way through our new development. So we have done two so far, I think it is. So we're on blog number 3.
Say blog or blag your way through?
How very dare you. That was the early days when we were just getting started. So blog episode number 3, Project OneB, it's all going to plan-ish. So we're going to update you as to where we are. So end of blog 2, we were up to first fix. The plasters were in, they were skimming out. The place was starting to take shape. So Paul and I will just give you guys an update on where we're at now. So effectively, we are kicking off second fix. We said we need to go shopping for tiles for 12 bathrooms. We've done our shopping trip. We've cleared out tops tiles and tile mounting with anything that looks slightly funky and different. And our tilers were jumping for joy. In my recent Instagram post, you'll see that I said that our tilers are jumping for joy because we have 12 bathrooms and we have near enough 12 different tiles, different trim colours, different grouts, funky grout colours, and to be honest, they've actually been quite good about it, and we've got some really trendy bathrooms on the way.
Unlike our previous tiler, who was of the stuff that we use different colour grout, different colour tiles.
Paul has a bit of a thing about our past tiler, which is quite a sensitive subject, which we probably won't go into, but she did say that she could only tile with white grout. She only could tile with white tiles. And then it was only white grout.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
And our new tiler, who so far so good, didn't seem fazed when I said that we would be having glitter in our grout. So I'm over the moon about that.
Okay, so I think you said something that just reminded me of when we started. And for people who maybe have not done a full refurb, whether it's a conversion, it's probably quite useful just to walk through broadly the different stages of a refurb. If you're sort of going back to brick and you're putting in new bathrooms and changing stuff about, because, we've done it a bunch of times, so we're okay with it. But it can be quite daunting for someone who is looking at their first major refurb. They're converting, a house from a 2 up, 2 down or a 3-bed semi into a 5-bed HMO with 3 bathrooms. So maybe you just walk through, broadly speaking, the different phases of this process.
Okay, so I'm doing this just off the top of my head, so fill in any gaps if I miss any along the way. So kicking off straight away, we need, something to work with. So a set of drawings or a broad plan or a schedule of works, even if it's a 1-pager, just something to work with. Once the contractor's agreed, the first thing we're doing obviously is stripping out. So you have your gut out team that will come and they'll just take out everything that you don't want from the property. Once the property is stripped and bare, you can really see what you're working with. And then you're looking to do your restructure. So are there any en-suites going in that you need to build? Are there any walls that are coming out? Not necessarily majorly structural, but just some walls. Are they coming out, stud walls or whatever? And actually getting the building structurally in the shape that you want it. Once you've done that, we can then start to look at windows and doors, a roof, damp work, making sure the place is effectively watertight. Once we've done that, then going on to the first fix for plumbing and first fix for electrics.
So again, you reel all that off because you've done it loads of times. I think one of the things that people want to know is whether they get a contractor to basically do everything that you've just said, and they handle the trades, plumbers, electrician, window fitters and things like that, which we always recommend, if it's your first large conversion, then you probably go for that. There are pros and cons. But I think my point is that it's still important to know what order things happening, so you can start looking at where you are and when milestones are reached. And the second thing is, if you use a contractor, what's the advantage and disadvantage versus project managing yourself? We're project managing this.
Yes.
And we project managed pretty much most of our developments.
All bar a couple of last big ones.
Yeah. So what's the criteria? What should a newbie or a landlord that has normally bought off-the-shelf HMOs or buy-to-lets but wants to do their own development? Should they project manage it themselves, like we're doing now, or should they go for a single contractor and do everything?
Okay. In my opinion, and based on my experience, I would say for your first, and probably for your first 1 to 3 small refurbs, I would say use a contractor. But they're going to be a small contractor. We're talking about like man and a van, because it's going to be a small project, no need for a big team. But I'd say bring in someone who's going to do it from beginning to end, firstly. Secondly, watch them like a hawk and learn as much as you can. So I actually didn't realize at the time, but when we were doing the early refurbs and you're going in every week and you're checking, I wasn't necessarily there watching, learning how to do plumbing, learning how to do electrics, but just the fact that you're there, you're just absorbing the process, what's going on, the quality. So get somebody to do it, a whole contractor, but watch and learn as much as possible, because probably after maybe you've gone through that process 3 times, I'd say that you've got enough understanding to perhaps project manage a small refurbishment yourself.
And with that, what about purchased materials? A contractor will, if you go for a contract, will always say or assume that they're going to buy the kitchen, the bathroom, the bits and pieces, versus labor only, where you're buying all the sanitaries, all the kitchen and things like that. Any thoughts on that?
Well, if you want your time back, then get the contractor to do it. However, there's nothing better than learning the cost of things, where you can source them from, just understanding the procurement, delivery, and just understanding that process. So again, perhaps for the first 1 or 2, say to the tiler, I'm happy with those tiles, I'm happy with the white kitchen, I'm happy with this paint, and kind of just let them get on with it. Because sometimes you can be a bit of a hindrance and you're delaying getting stuff to site, and they probably want to mark it up a little bit and make a margin. So I say for the first couple, let them do it. But ultimately, we know that we don't have a tradesman that can get a boiler cheaper than we can get them. We know that tradesmen can't pick up the kitchens as cheap as we can get them. So eventually, you have to do it really, because you're monitoring your price and you're trying to come in on budget. And you can also then start to build relationships with the suppliers as well, which is quite good.
But what about quality control? I mean, if you're an experienced investor or landlord, then when the wall's straight, bowing of the skirting, sockets, not quite lined up with the top of the skirting or stuff like that. How do you, if you're doing your first project, how do you monitor quality control? What's your criteria? What do you use? How do you go about it? I mean, I've heard and watched and read emails where you're absolutely roasting some of the contractors. And some people don't have the confidence to do that because they're not too sure what they're talking about. So how did you get to that point? What's your criteria?
Okay, so for sure, the first few refurbishments, I wasn't roasting contractors, to use your phrase, and certainly didn't have the confidence to have a face-to-face conversation with a builder to critique them or anything like that. So I was really quite sheepish to begin with. But if I just cast my mind back in terms of maybe what I would have done differently, perhaps go to the site when there's nobody there, when there's a contractor, or, when they've gone home, and just walk with the building room by room. Because when you turn up on site and the radio's blaring and the contractors are there and they're asking if you want a cup of tea and you're there like in and out in an hour, it can be quite overwhelming to begin with. And you don't really pick up too much. So go there on your own, in your own time, walk through room by room. And the easiest way to describe it is to say, imagine this was your home. So if you had somebody come in to paint your own house, lay carpets in your own house, put together some furniture, no doubt you would be, fairly sort of inquisitive or, looking at what they're doing or finding out what's going on. So do the same in this property. Maybe take your spirit level with you and check if the sockets are lined up. Because a lot of it is, if you trusted that the builders have done a good job from a sort of technical standpoint, and you're just looking at what's the quality control of the finish, we can all do it. We all want to live in a nice home. We can all see what's right from wrong. So I would just say, take your time, go in with a notepad and pen and just list things out. Before now, I've gone in with Post-it notes. So the builders arrive the next day and there's like 20 million pink Post-it notes in the house. They're not particularly happy with that, but just go through. And the more that you do it, the more you learn, and you learn really quickly on site.
Do you remember years ago, almost when we first started, we used to do investor days where we used to show examples of trades work. And it just reminded me when you said you go around and post things up. You would be surprised what we've had to endure with a lovely tradesman, and less so tradeswomen, but, tradespeople.
Tradesmen.
Have just made it up as they've gone along.
Yeah.
So we've said, put a splashback on the sink, and splashback is halfway up the wall. But the sink's down there, mate. Yeah, I know, but I wasn't too sure what you wanted, so I put it halfway up the wall.
Yeah, or can you put a splashback on and put one piddly little tile, like rather than 2 or 3 tiles? Or we've got a lot of stories about that, and I would say that it doesn't matter how experienced you are and what team you're working with, it kind of still happens. And case in point was, we were at Project OneB on Monday. We're second fixing the electrics, and we have a good electrician working with us on this job for sure, but he's putting the sockets on and they're not level, and there's these kind of the plaster stops and then there's like an inch gap and the socket starts. So I just politely said to our electrician, look, there's lots of gaps around here, and my decorator's going to be screaming if he sees these. And to give him his dues, he said, give me a minute, Amanda. I only put the socket on the wall about 10 minutes ago. I'm going to tidy them up. Okay, that's fair enough. But, you're always reminding, you're always checking, because at the end of the day, this is your project and you're responsible for the outcome.
Okay, so getting back to where we're at. So we were traipsing through tile shops about a week and a half ago, and it never, ever, on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of excitement, it never raises above 3.
I think when we got to the last shop, I was going to say to you, shall I just wait in the car? Can you just go in and sort it out?
I mean, you walk up and down the same aisle 3 or 4 times, and you think, they've got nothing. And then you walk again another 3 or 4 times, and you've found something, one tile, you think maybe. And it always happens. But, I mean, we're a bit fussy on our tiles. We've always used tiles as a bit of a feature. And to be fair, we had quite a good running with tile mounting and Tufts tiles, where we're able to buy pretty much everything there, which is great. Kitchens prices have just gone crazy, haven't they?
Yeah. You don't feel like you're getting good value either, I don't think.
I mean, we paid for a run, and we paid £2,800 for something that historically pre-COVID would have been no more than half that.
Yeah, literally half, about £1,400-1,500.
Yeah. So that was a bit uncomfortable, but it's got to be done.
Yeah. We've got gold handles though, so at least it's going to look funky.
Yeah, and that was, to be fair, that was the designer's idea, and I think it looks quite good, and you can theme the room on the back of that. So the kitchen is generally going quite early. I am always surprised at how quickly the kitchen goes in, and the first thing I think of is you put the kitchens in, right, there's going to be chips and mess and dirt and crap all over the place. But it always tends to come good in the end. So the kitchens are in, the tilers are there. The second fix, which is basically putting all the sanitary into the en-suites, presumably when the tile is finished. So now we're putting together our lists. I did a spreadsheet. For these larger projects, I put together a bit of a spreadsheet of every single thing that we need to purchase for every single room. If you have multicolored rooms, then you have to label those walls and rooms with different colors. So it's very easy to get confused. If you're doing everything in gray or white, then no problem. But if you have in feature walls, then you've got a lot of rooms and it's a bit of a challenge. So we're in the throes of doing that. And then everything has to be purchased. So one of the things that you did was you went up to the building and you labeled a wall. So we have a whole wall with labels on there. So as sanitary ware comes, electrics for light fittings, things like that, hand basins and toilets come, we can slot them in those particular categories and control it. I remember when we did that property in Stoke in London Road, we had stuff all over the place.
I remember the whole kitchen from the floor to the ceiling was just cardboard at the end.
Oh, do you remember that?
And everything came from IKEA.
Felt like an Amazon warehouse.
Literally. But yeah, it's a bit of a loading bay we've set up basically that we can just store everything and make sure nothing goes missing or nobody picks up something by accident, because we are going to have obviously a truckload of stuff arriving. But we're plastered out. As Paul said, 2 kitchens in, tilers in, bathrooms to be finished. The next, we're fitting some kitchenettes at the moment. We've got a joiner coming. We had 1 joiner on the job. We've now ended up with 3 joiners on the job just to keep the momentum going, because it was a little bit more work than we realised. So we've got 1 joiner who's great. He's coming in the evenings. We had another guy that did a few weeks for us to assist the main joiner on site. We had to bring in more plasterers. We've had to bring in more labourers. We've had to bring in more electricians towards the second fix. We've got 3 tilers on site. It's a pretty busy project, to keep the momentum up so we can keep on schedule in terms of the timescale.
And I think one of the important things is to keep the team fully appraised of what the schedule is. I mean, the guys have been pretty good in terms of, look, we're behind, we need to speed up. So they'll turn it on and, either put in some more hours or they'll bring someone on just to speed things up, which is pretty decent. And that's important. Otherwise, you find that the project just drags on. And this might sound like a pretty basic statement, but the longer the project, the more it costs.
Yeah.
Even if you're on a fixed price, it costs more. And I'm not talking about lost income. It's just all bits and pieces are found and you're buying extra this and buying extra that and something gets broken. And historically, it always costs a lot more if you're late. So we're trying to get this completed by the end of May. So we're now middle of April. So we've said to the team, we really want decorators in first week in May. They're going to be in there for 2 to 3 weeks, we think. And then we have carpet people in and then furniture. Is that the order?
It is indeed.
I mean, there are always a load of anxieties, and we've got walls that aren't drying out. We've got leaks that, haven't been there for 12 months. 15 months, and all of a sudden they've just flipping appeared. And we've got neighbours who aren't playing ball.
I was just about to say whether we should mention that or not, but we have.
For fear of, being sued or being placed at the front of the Sentinel. Perhaps not, but, these things happen. It is a community and we have to respect their wishes. It's not a deal breaker, but it's just a bit irritating, I think. But these are the things that happen when you're doing a development, small, medium, or large. We've done tiny developments, and we've had neighbours that have complained every single day for the time that we've been there. It's not one thing; it's another. So that's just part.
I mean, in that department, to be fair, it has run fairly smooth considering sort of the pushback initially on the project. So hopefully we have delivered on what we said, and they've kept like a tidy site and not too much noise, and we have thought about the community as much as we can. So it's gone okay.
Yeah. So I think the next 6 weeks are crucial. 6 weeks is not a long time. The idea of ordering 12 beds, 12 mattresses,
light fittings,
and making it all come together and look good does not excite me. I think I've lost the excitement for it, so I need to motivate myself to get that done. It is coming together, which is exciting. The place is as dirty as hell. So I think you're thinking of getting some interim cleaning done, which makes a lot of sense, especially if you've got a new set of people coming in that want it fairly tidy and plaster-free and all that sort of stuff. What do you think the most critical thing is now? What do you think sort of over the next couple of 3 weeks? If you're anxious over anything, what do you think it would be?
I'd go as far as saying I'm not really anxious about anything. That could be the famous last words. I think probably the most critical point is the bathrooms, because electrical second fix is kind of taking care of itself. It's just sockets, lighting, quite simple. But I would say the second fix is the most critical, with the loos and the sinks and the showers, and just making sure that the place is watertight, no leaks, and that everything is functioning properly. That's almost like the final kind of part, I say major part. From then, literally, it's just downhill from there. It's just cosmetic from there.
Yeah, I think the most frustrating bit is getting it to launch. I always get, once we've got the furniture fitted, which takes an inordinate long time to get to that stage. But once the furniture's in and the place is cleaned and everything's tested, and you've got to test 12 bathrooms, and you're going to put the showers on all at the same time to see what happens. I mean, it's real systemized.
Yeah, it's the functionality of the building. This place has to function well. The Wi-Fi's got to work. The cameras have got to work. You know, the whole thing's got to really pull together. So I guess that's where, not my anxiety, but where the critical part comes in. You know, paint colour choices and beds and furnitures, you know, you can work that out quite easily.
Okay, so it's progressing. I don't think we need to say that much more. I think we do another podcast when maybe the decorators are in, the second fix is done. So probably 3 or 4 weeks from now. And then that could be very close to our final ones. We have 2 more updates. Maybe the last update is when someone moves in.
And hopefully tells us how amazing it is.
Hopefully, yeah.
And we need to pick a name, but we'll come back to you on the name.
Yeah.
We're still umming and ahhing on the exact name for the building.
Yeah, we'll find something. I'm still frustrated we haven't had the gardener come and give us a quote for the garden. We've got a little bit of a garden front and back, and we want to get a quote for the works there. So we'll have a little relaxation area for our tenants, our renters. Anyway, I think that's probably where we should end now and then revisit 3 or 4 weeks from now.
Super. Okay. I hope you enjoyed the update, and we'll check in soon. Take care.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and if so, please hit subscribe and share with those who you think would enjoy it too. To get in touch with Paul and Amanda directly, please visit their website www.essentialpropertyoptions.co.uk for more information. We look forward to sharing with you on the next episode.